Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, you're the first one who's going to be on Twitch with this. I've actually been wanting to do this for a long time. Um, I fucking love listening to podcasts. I only really listen to Joe Rogan and like Lex Friedman's podcast. Those are the only two I really listen to. But he was talking about how he just wanted to bring on his friends and people who he thought had interesting careers and just chat with them. And I was like, man, that sounds like so much fun. I was like, oh fuck it, let's get off
Yeah.
duty in. Let's get Dr. Cox. Let's get Nathrakus. I've got a I've got a drummer lined up. I've got a drummer
Oh,
to a bit like who plays in a bunch of heavy metal bands.
that'd be awesome.
So yeah, yeah, I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah. This is a fun idea, man, to put it together and kind of
Yeah,
get it going.
yeah. So you want to go ahead and tell everyone who you are, what you do?
Yes. My name's Nathrakus. I'm one of the developers on Kana Bridge of Spirits. I work at a studio called Ember Lab. I've been there for 5 years now. And it rocks. If you played Kana, thank you. It was a really fun project to work on. And I guess I'm here to talk about game development and like a little bit of what that's like, answer questions. Like I don't know where we're going with this. I figured we just kind of like a
I
loose
just
roundtable. Like
hey, dude, we'll just bullshit. I've got so many questions of like what even got you into Ember Labs in the first place? Like how because isn't the team only like 12 people when you guys were working on the game?
yeah, that was a really it's my life has been a cascade of like really a lot of luck and like
Uh-huh.
I'm just really fortunate. But I went to college and we had a portfolio show and I met Josh, who
Uh-huh.
is our CCO or
Yeah.
COO at Ember
Uh-huh.
Lab there. That was like 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So I started working with them for a little bit and then I went to do some other stuff and then I that kind of snowballed into working on the BioShock remasters and then doing some port work,
Oh.
which is where you bring old games to newer hardware. And
Oh.
then I heard about this Kana project and I saw it and I was like, yo, that's cool. So I even back then, like I was so amazed by like all the animation work they had done and they had built this prototype. And so a few of us took off and we joined Ember to work on Kana.
Huh.
And we're yeah.
Man, you got to say, like, for a game like that to be considered an indie game is like it's mind blowing, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's an indie game. It won indie game of the year for 2021.
Yeah.
And when you if you've never played Kana Bridge of Spirits, um, it's the way everyone when I was playing the game and the way I even felt and the way my wife. I remember I was showing gameplay to my wife and she's like, "It looks like a Pixar movie." I was like, "That's like that was everyone's like." Run of the mill statement of it looks like a Pixar movie. And it's so beautiful because when you think of an indie game, you see so many pixel games and you think Hollow Knight, Undertale, like at least that's where my brain goes. You don't think of what appears to be this triple A graphics with all these crazy effects and a compelling story. It's insane. And to think only 12 people.
Yeah, and we did have a little more than 12. So we had our core team and then we had like we had a small studio that we outsourced to that also helped
Mhm.
with art assets. So as we're
Uh-huh.
putting the world together, like
Mhm.
they helped kind of and that really helped us like build up the world and they helped with some visual effects and stuff too.
Uh-huh.
I don't know too much, so I probably shouldn't say too much on that matter, but we did have some additional help, like really kind of putting the fine tune on it.
Uh-huh.
The main the core team here has always been super tight though, and that's
Yeah.
one of the best parts about working there is that
Uh-huh.
like I feel I've never felt like a small like dude in the machine. It's like I feel like I get a voice like as a person too, and that
Uh-huh.
it's so nice. Like I honestly can't imagine working anywhere else. Like I feel really fortunate to like be in a position where I have like autonomy and like you know I feel heard. Like
Mhm.
it's such a nice, fulfilling feeling, and yeah, it's truly a blessing. Like I
I could
can't.
imagine, dude.
Yeah.
I could imagine. Yeah, because like whenever I think of like a game studio, you think of like you look at the credits and it's like fucking hundreds of people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So no, that must be awesome.
Yeah.
So
And
for
yeah. Yeah.
game development, what exactly do you do? Like what were you solely responsible for?
So, I wouldn't say that I'm solely responsible for just like anything, but I have because like at some point we've touched it all, like
Uh huh.
generally.
Uh huh.
the big thing that I love working on is I love character movement.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of like the locomotion stuff, swimming, climbing. I think climbing took 3,000-4,000 hours to get right.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, and that was I remember like distinctly having like bad dreams about climbing because like she would go to grab a ledge and out of nowhere she'd be clipping through a wall halfway across the map, and I was like, oh my god, how am I gonna fix this? Like,
Oh my
so
jeez.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I do love it. Like I love solving those problems.
Mhm.
I love cameras. I think
Mhm.
camera work is like really important to get right.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and so like
100%.
yeah, and the guys that I work with, they have a lot of they're like a big VFX background. You know, they did a lot of like 3D animation stuff. Did you see like the Majora's Mask thing that Ember Lab put together?
Yes, yes, I did. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that thing. Yeah.
So that's kind of like their specialty is like really in like that really high quality like film production environment.
Huh.
Like so getting to like merge the two worlds where the engineers that I work with are like super good,
Uh-huh.
and getting to work with people that are super good at art animation, it like comes together to create this it's a cool like dynamic that is um very strong, very
Yeah.
tight knit. So but as for what I do, like character movement, camera work, let's see, I did localization, so making sure that the game runs in other languages, which
Uh-huh.
was not the most beautiful thing, but it was still really interesting nonetheless.
Uh-huh.
And
I remember you were telling me during your playthrough you worked on haptic feedback.
oh yeah, that was a total that was a really funny thing, you know. It was a total accident that those triggers ended up working the way they did for the bow if you're on
Uh-huh.
PS5.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
It was so immersive when you push that trigger and you could feel like the bow you could feel like the stick like stretching. Like it wasn't just like an immediate thing. It would like stutter. It would stutter like the wood would feel if you pulled it. It was just
Uh,
so like
yeah.
yeah.
A total accident.
Total
Like
accident.
I
Total
just
accident.
because I wasn't getting anything that was working, and I kept going to Mike and I was like, "Hey man, this is what I've got." And he's like,
Uh-huh.
"It's not hitting the mark, man." So I just
Uh-huh.
threw two curves together and like just faded between the two curves, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh, I think that works." So
Yeah.
sometimes like just a little bit of intuition to like kind of to get me over a line will like generally do the trick. But I just kind of like threw my hands up. And I was like, "I'll just throw something at the wall right now and just see what works." And the first thing that I hit was like the one that shipped. So
Dude,
it was pretty
I mean
wild.
that's how it happens sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
you just throw spaghetti at the wall until it sticks. And yeah, no, I totally get that. That's really cool.
I think that like for me, like the creative process lately has been like getting out of my own way and kind of
Uh-huh.
letting the process do its thing. Because the more that I try to like grab on and hold on to things,
Uh-huh.
um, the harder it is for it to just be what it is.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm trying to impose my own will on something else instead of just
Uh-huh.
letting the process do its thing. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes like letting go and kind of like taking a second and then letting the process do its thing and being like, okay, this is going to get where it needs to be.
Mhm.
Um, has been like a great source of relief, but also like the results have been great. So like yeah, it's
Yeah.
from like a way of thinking thing that's one of those examples where just kind of like
Yeah.
throwing my hands up sometimes is just the right way.
Yeah. So yeah, you're still with Ember. You're still with Ember
Yep.
Labs and everything. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I took
Yeah.
a good break after um after Kena Bridge of Spirit shipped.
Mhm.
That was really nice to like get a reset, kind of build some new um kind of get my feet back on the ground again, and
Mhm.
then um kind of you know got back into programming again, and now I'm doing stuff that I love, and
Mhm.
I'm even prototyping. So I could show you what I've been prototyping on my own a little bit later if you're interested.
Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I get that, especially with the game that's as successful as Kena. Were you at the actual awards?
yeah. I was in the
Oh,
video,
really?
and I'm
Oh, really?
like open my fist like an idiot. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
man,
How
like
was that? How
it
like
was
how's that whole experience? Because like,
unreal.
look at
Like,
I'll be transparent, right? Like as a Twitch streamer, I look at the awards and I think it's like it's a fucking joke until the games that I want to win actually win. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You know, like I think it's silly. But when I saw Kena Bridge of Spirits win, I was like, fuck yeah, I love that game. I'm glad it won. You know, like
yeah.
so.
It was wild. So we're sitting in the row, like right in that front row, right?
Uh-huh.
And a bunch of cameras start rolling up as they start like announcing people, and I'm like, I'm not seeing cameras anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, what's going on here? And then they announced that we won, and it was really funny because they were looking for people before we they were like, where are they? Where are they? Because they needed us in our seats, and we were just kind of putzing around. So yeah, that was pretty wild. That was the hardest I've ever popped off in my life.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll pop off much harder than that. So yeah.
What
That
is
was really cool.
what does winning an award like that have an effect on the studio?
We
Like-
have, so we won two. The other one we so it's really cool. The biggest effect that it's had is that we have two new awards in our office, and they're really cool to look at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I was expecting like maybe you get like funding or like you get game of the year edition or something like.
As far as I know, there we won the awards, and I'm sure that there's other things that have happened, maybe more visibility. Like that definitely helps like the IP, I would imagine, to like have more like name power. So, but I can only speculate. I don't actually like have any hard metrics on like how that's done. But in my mind, it's like really cool to go look at those awards. Like I'll eat lunch and like they're really heavy, man. Like so, it's it's motivating too. Like seeing them being like cool. And that original like launch day, I remember like distinctly like that was I think that's those moments that will like sit in your mind and you're like, I remember the feeling, I remember like what it felt like, I remember what the weather was like very distinct, like just before launch, like the minutes before all the reviews came out, like just as 7 p.m. was rolling around, like I'm sweating bullets, man. Like I didn't know if what we had was gonna be good. I didn't know if people were gonna like it. Like I had only seen, so when you make a game like that, I mean, for me, I had not played through the entire thing. Like I had been in bits and pieces, I had been debugging things, and so sitting there in those last moments was just like when the reviews finally hit and we were like, okay, it's good. It was like weight just kind of like elevated off, and then the weight was immediately put back on when people started like doing things in game, and I'm like, oh no, like
breaking the shit out of it.
Yeah, like you getting stuck in the well. Falling down, and as soon as that happened, I was like in the editor, pulled up the level, like threw the plane down to reset. Like, it was like, dude, it was touch and go.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah,
that was crazy.
Yeah,
but it was relief followed by like it was like that high followed by the reality of the game is now live and we need to support it. So like length, like really. And the DLC that dropped was like that was huge. Like I couldn't believe, because I took some time off and I came back and I heard what they had done and I was like, no way, dude. Like you guys redid like almost every combat encounter, added new enemies, added new attacks. Like
yeah, I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. I did not know Kana had a DLC. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was a free DLC that dropped and it added New Game Plus and some new abilities and some new, I'm pretty sure new abilities.
Shit.
Yeah. But it also, there's like these charms that you can equip to like make the game really hard or make the game like different, and they went like totally, they did stuff that was completely off the wall but so cool. And I've been meaning to like sit down and like do a full New Game Plus master mode like artist just to see like really get bopped around a little bit. That was one thing that people said was like they didn't expect it to be so hard. And
I could definitely say that. You look at the game and at face value, it kind of just, it doesn't seem like lollipops through the forest, but it's was not expecting, the Dark Souls feel that everyone likes to say, or that level of difficulty where you get smacked and you get smacked hard.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You get knocked back into neutral and you're like, oh, now there's distance between me and that guy. Right.
Yeah.
That was cool. It was, that getting that combat loop down it felt good. When it started clicking together, it felt good. It was that was awesome. I loved did you ever get grabbed by Taro, the first boss?
Yes, you did. I did.
Yeah, that was like one of the things that I had programmed like pretty early on, was that grab that he does. Yeah. So that was really cool to see that, because every time that happened, I helped make that. Yeah, it's one of those cool moments,
I imagine you, like, as much as you were wanting to support the game, you were probably wanting to go on Twitch and just watch everyone play the game.
Dude, it was bad. It was bad because like I really wanted to see all the playthroughs, and then I was like, oh man, there's more to get done, more to fix. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it was really really fun to see.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh
definitely.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, like, playing Kana, the most memorable, like, still probably one of the most memorable part of that game was the Hammersmith. Is that what the name of the
Yeah,
boss?
Woodsmith.
Dude, oh my god, when he like goes into that fiery rage, it was just like the coolest shit. It was like, oh my god, this, like, it just, the cinematography of the whole situation, like the mechanics, it was a perfect boss fight.
Yeah,
It was a
that
perfect
fight
boss
was
fight.
really really cool.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. That one. So let's see, what was the order in the
Well,
release
man,
date?
the game has been out. Well, what was the release date on Kana? It was 2021, right?
I think it was September 21st, 2021.
Yeah.
Um, that I think something like that. Maybe September 27th, but yeah, it was up there.
Got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Does it still feel surreal seeing an award like that in your lobby?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also surreal because like I'll go and like kind of poke around sometimes and like to see like how big it really is. Um, it's a big game for like the size that we are, and that
Yeah.
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 I sometimes just don't know how we did it. Like I just don't know. Like it's insane. Like it's so cool.
Does You always hear about game developers and the nightmarish hours they have to work? Is that something you can relate to? Something you could talk about?
I could. At Ember Lab, I didn't work nightmarish hours very much. I like if at all. I think there was a couple nights, and if anything, I was there really early on in the project to work late because I was just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of the project, I don't know, I was still doing pretty regular hours, and on occasion I would stay a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there are guys that at the studio that were really really sweating over it. Like they were really getting in big. I didn't do that.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it was more of like just wanted to make sure I could keep myself kind of even because like
Mm.
I have learned that like by working really late hours, like I will create more problems, especially in code. It's like pretty
Mm.
dangerous.
Mm. Yeah.
So, but I know that there are some dudes that were there a long time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there was some hours that were put in. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and also relief at the end. But I think the idea is to not do that. That's
Yeah.
the ideal, right? Is to not have to do that. So yeah,
I mean,
that's a matter of scoping and kind of laying everything out so we have an idea of like how big everything is, and then showing off what we can. But that's easier said than done. In
mhm.
practice, that's a different game altogether.
Because I mean, right now I'm a Twitch streamer, so it's like a completely different, atmosphere, of course. But I remember when I was working retail, you work an 8-hour shift, you're only truly efficient for a period of hours. And anything after that, you're kind of just like spinning the wheels and not working to, a good capacity. Now imagine if you guys want to put out a good video game, you want to minimize the amount of time you're working in that kind of frame rate, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That and then the other part is that like caffeine only it'll work until it doesn't, and like that with
Oh
like
yeah,
any
I know that.
substance, like it will work until it doesn't, and then when it
Yeah.
doesn't, it's just like you have nothing left to give.
Yeah, for sure.
Um. So yeah, yeah that is it's a sketchy place to be in that mindset, right? Like
Hmm.
sometimes there's necessity for it, but other times it's like yeah. There's so many times where I come back the next day and had a better solution. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I
try to
mean,
keep that in the back of my mind
yeah,
now.
I think that's relatable. I think that's relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, the question is, what program is the game made in or on, or language? You know what
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yes. We are in Kana shipped an Unreal Engine 427. we use Unreal Engine's version of C++. It is C++, but they have like a lot of tacked on stuff that makes it integrate well with Unreal Engine. And I use Visual Studio as a programming environment. I use Vim to navigate the code, which is just like a fancy way of like hopping around and jumping your cursor when you're typing text. My buddy Nolan got me into that, and I've never gone back. I use it. I wish I had Vim in other places. So
Yeah.
And then what else do I use? I think that's I use Agent Ransack is a program that is insanely useful. It will search your entire computer by file name and by contents of the file. So if I'm looking for a variable and I know I have the variable in mind and I forget which file it's in, or if I just need to search my computer for like a file that has this name in it, it will scour everything. It will ransack my entire hard drive to find the files that have that. And that comes up more useful than not, especially when navigating like larger code bases and I'm trying to find a bearing of like, where is, where is window initialization? I can just type in the name of the command that's going to be like window initialization. It will jump me generally to that entry point. So Agent Ransack is another really good one. So that's like definitely a deep dive in what I use for tools. But
I wish I could understand anything you just said.
Right,
See, I know C++ is a language. I know Unreal 4 engine is like a very common engine, and I know 5 just got released, which is fucking mind-blowing of an engine, right? What is the approximate producer to developer ratio in your teams? And did you find producers keeping the glue together?
Production is really important. Because we're a smaller team, production has like in my mind, we're very self-producing in the end, because like we just communicate, and there, so I would say 1 to 3, because like we have 3 in-house engineers and like we had, 1 producer. So, but 1 to 3 was like the safe ratio. And I felt like that worked, close enough. I think we could do things. Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it really comes down to the chemistry of the team, what kind of product you're making, what the roadmap looks like, and how effective production can be, and if they're like, how well. Yeah.
I don't even know what is the role of a producer inside of a video game.
So production generally, in my experience, is the person that kind of delegates tasks. They kind of sit as a middleman between like design and upper management, publishers, and like all of the external stuff. They're the barrier between all of that stuff and the engineer or the artist, and basically they distill all of the information into like timelines and due dates, and they make sure that we log our time correctly, and then they feed that information back up, like task time, duration, all of the meta information about the development process is kind of distilled and coalesced within a producer. That's my understanding of a producer, but I'm sure that producers wear different hats depending on the studio they're in.
Yeah. I'm completely ignorant to the entire process of video game development. I'm in the belief that like fucking players don't even deserve video games half the fucking time anyway. So, so like that's where my brain's at. So if I know how anything works, is there a dream project that you would want to work on, i.e. sequel to your favorite game, etc., etc.?
That's a tough one, man. I haven't really thought about that in a while.
You're like, I've already worked on my dream project because I helped make it.
That was pretty cool, man. If there's ever like a Noita 2, that'd be so cool. Like that, I think that would be awesome.
Fucking Noita.
Like that would be cool. Like, I don't know. There has to be. I'm trying to think here. I know for a while there was stuff I was thinking about all the time, but I think that's a tough one. I think I'm really stoked about where I am and what we're doing, and from a creative side, like I have kind of I've kind of suppressed. I still have like a creative side, but I've kind of dialed that back, and I definitely think about more how like I can be a bigger help to like another part of the team.
Interesting.
And that allows so I haven't really sat back and really thought about like what is my dream project, right? Because like really enjoy hearing the dreams of others and like helping them achieve that. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Very selfless.
Yeah, I think that other people have bigger aspirations and dreams, and I like to hear what they're up to. You know. Like,
yeah. Did you always play video games your whole life, or were you like one of those like jocks in high school who then like were like, all right, video games are kind of cool, I guess?
I played video games until I wasn't allowed to, and then I was outside. And then I was a cheerleader in high school, so like I wasn't like a big jock or anything. But that did put me on a collision course to being kind of more of like an outsider, which is totally cool. But
I'm gonna have to ask for elaboration on this one, dude. You're a cheerleader, like yeah, like full like.
Yeah, like learned how to tumble, like gymnastics. I was a school mascot.
Not
actually
expected that.
Yeah.
For anyone watching, I've met Nathrakus a couple times now. We've gone to sushi.
Yep.
It was sushi, right? Yeah.
It
was sushi. Yeah. And man, I would never have guessed. Never have guessed. Fucking cheerleader, huh?
Yeah. Huh. I think it was fun, you know.
Yeah.
I definitely learned how to like talk to the opposite gender. Which was like something I desperately needed, like learn to what not to say, right? Like, and that was like, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
What was the first video game you played, like ever?
Doom.
Yeah. Really?
Doom, the original Doom, and like when it came out, my grandfather had like a laptop, and it would run the demo for like 3 seconds, and then black bars would come down because the video driver or the graphics card had crashed.
Yeah.
So I played a little bit of that, and then I remember like Gauntlet on, I think it was the NES with my dad, and I remember sitting down. Mortal Kombat 2, I think. So those are like the three core was like Gauntlet, Doom, and Mortal Kombat.
Oh shit.
But the first game that really blew my mind was like Ocarina of Time. Like that game was like that was like a big one.
When Ocarina of Time came out, that game was pretty impressive. Yeah. If you were used to playing like my first games were like Sonic and Super Mario World. I had Mortal Kombat Ultimate on the SNES. I think I still have the cartridge somewhere in this house. And when you go from those to then you play like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, those, I mean, I still look at Ocarina of Time being the blueprint that like the original, or it was the originator of like, how do I say this? If you look at like a lineage tree, like Ocarina of Time is at the root of like the entire Dark Souls side, right? Like
yeah.
Like,
I can totally see that. 100%.
You know, it's just all an extension from Ocarina of Time.
100%.
And like the camera stuff that like Nintendo put down was like definitely room for improvement, but like it only had one stick.
Yeah. We were just having this discussion the other day in my channel because I'm playing Skyward Sword, and everyone always like, oh, what's your favorite Zelda? Favorite Zelda, you know? It's a common conversation. And to like stir the fucking shit pot, I always say, oh yeah, Ocarina of Time is overrated, so I don't give a fuck about that game. But I always comment that saying, I really do think that Ocarina of Time may have been one of the most important video games to ever been created. Like it is serious. It's like the Metallica of metal music, right? You know, it's like if you any metal music that you listen to, you could always trace that back to somewhere down the line. They were like the artists that they listened to were inspired by Metallica, or the artists that they were inspired by was Metallica, right? But definitely, but the thing is, you'll never see me have Metallica on my fucking playlist, right? Like, like that's how I feel with Ocarina of Time. Is like I respect the shit out of the game, but I'll never. I don't know. It just looks so boring to me. I don't hate Ocarina of Time. I don't hate it. It's just I find the game pretty boring.
You know, I haven't played it since it came out. Like
really?
Yeah, I haven't. And like I have fond memories of it, but I hear that sentiment echoed. That it's like it hasn't aged well because, and I think it's like I would have to go back and really check that out. But we have really progressed. So I'd imagine going back, it's kind of like the opposite of Future Shock. You're like, well, there's so much missing here. Like, I'm used to these things feeling good because we've had like 20 years to like really refine what it is to play something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's but they did really lay a great foundation.
Yeah, no question. And you know what's funny is This is going to sound so hypocritical, but Majora's Mask is one of my favorite games of all time. So
Majora's Mask did a lot of really cool stuff. I look at the time loop thing, and I just see so many design irritations with it. Like, I'm like, what if I'm in the middle of something and then the time ends? I'm like that is such a really off the wall design decision, right? There's just so many problems with it, and they did it. Like, it's so weird. Like,
when people hate Majora's Mask, that's why they hate it. They're like, I hate feeling pressured. I just want to
like
I want to explore. I don't want to feel like I only have 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
And I've never, I mean, I don't want to say I've never felt that, because I remember distinctly as a kid, I was trying to do one of the temples, and the time ran out, and I had to do the entire temple over, and I was pissed. I remember that. I'll never forget that feeling. Never forget that. And I know I know the exact room, the exact thing that I could not figure out. I had to open up my strategy book to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Who was I watching? I think I was watching Grim, and he was poking around through one of the ice caves in Ocarina of Time, and the solution to the puzzle was to bottle a flame on a sconce. He like caught the flame in a bottle.
Yeah, catch the flame in a bottle.
What?
Yeah.
What? Are you serious? Like, it was like built to have a strategy guide sold alongside it. Like, but they also had limited tools, and like that was, I'm sure that there was a deeper reason why they made it do that, but it just seemed so esoteric.
Yeah, for sure. We have someone who has a question, but it's a bit of a long one, so bear with me.
Yeah, it is.
As someone who does media development for fun, the industry seems extremely expensive to get into, and companies keep getting bought out and costs go up. For example, Adobe bought Substance, and ZBrush got bought out instantly. Autodesk is known to buy software and shut it down or put a subscription-only model. Does this trend concern or impact an actual development company? I mean, just from my perspective, I would guess probably not, right?
It depends on the tool. With the tools that I have, it really hasn't impacted much, because I'm working with code, and then I work with like an engine. So like my pipeline is pretty clean. But I remember I used ZBrush in college, because I went to ZBrush. I went to college for art and like learning the entire game development pipeline. So like I did modeling and animating, and like making 3D models and then animating. So when I heard about these acquisitions, I was like, okay, cool. Like, that is good that those companies like got their break. They made really good tech that obviously attracted the attention. It's tough for me to really have an opinion on it, because I don't know too much about what that deal was like or how it affected people in the end. But as long as, in my mind, as long as the software continues to be good and it has the support and maintenance on it, then I don't care who owns it or who buys it. As long as it continues to be a good product, I think. It's ultimately like up to the discretion of like the people who've made it to kind of figure out what they want to do with it, right? So it hasn't affected me, and as far as I know, it hasn't affected. I can't think of negative effects. Yeah, I really can't. Like, generally, tools and software is kind of like built in to like what we're doing, so it's not something we like consciously think about. Like, the price of land to rent changing, that's a little bit more like that's definitely a stickier point. Like not to get into that, but yeah, there's other things that cost more, right? That like, the software thing is like, okay, cool, like it's a little different, but yeah.
This is actually a great question for a segue for a discussion we had earlier in my channel. And again, if you ever feel the need, like you can't answer a question for any reason, just let me know, and obviously we'll move on. What is your thoughts on exclusivity with video games?
As a game
developer, how is that? Because
we were an exclusive.
Huh?
We were an exclusive.
You were?
Yeah. We were Epic exclusive for the first year, and I think we were a PS4, PS5 exclusive too.
Huh.
And it made sense for us to do it.
Yeah.
As far as I know, so as a consumer, I don't care what platform you come out on. If it's a game that looks interesting and I'm going to be entertained by it, I'm going to buy it anywhere, man. Like when Sifu came out, I was like, I like Slow Clap. I loved Absolver. I'm going to play the shit out of this. Like, where is it? Where do I get it? I don't care where it is. And when it comes out on Steam, I'll probably buy it again on Steam too. Like, I don't know. Like, I know some people say that like the Epic Game Store is like anti-consumer or something, and I'm just like, that doesn't concern me, man. Like, it's 10 minutes to like set up a new account somewhere else. Like, it's really like champagne problems at the end of the day.
Champagne problems. I like that. I like that word or that phrase. Champagne problems. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If a game is interesting to me and I want to play it bad enough, I'll figure out a way. You know, like I'll figure out. I shouldn't say that because that sounds like I'm into pirating, which I'm actually not into pirating. But I will definitely like get the console. I'll get the console if I need to. You know, like I've done it with every single Zelda game, right? If I wanted to play that Zelda game, I would just get the new console because that's how you play it, right?
So let me kind of ask you a question. It's kind of related. What are your thoughts on the prices of games going up?
I'm surprised it took this long.
yo. Yeah, I am too, dude. They've been the same price for so long. Like,
it's like fucking Arizona tea, dude. Arizona tea's been 99 cents my entire fucking life. It's like the only thing that's been stagnant in prices. Video games are the same way. When I was a kid, they were $60.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, they were $60 fucking, and now they're going up what, $10? Going up $10, $20 and people are losing their fucking minds. Yeah. And it's like the quality has only increased. Inflation has gone up. So it's not like how do you offset this? You know? I don't know.
Yeah. There was I kind of want to loop back to that question that somebody in chat asked. They were talking, it may be lost in chat now, but it sounded like there was a mention of like barrier to entry into game development.
Yeah. I've got the question right here. As someone who does media dev for fun, the industry seems extremely expensive to get into, and companies keep getting bought out and costs go up. For example, Adobe bought Substance and ZBrush, got bought out recently. Autodesk is known to buy software, shut it down, put subscription models. Does the trend impact game development or the company?
So I do kind of want to bring up one thing that happened that was very strange, and I'm still not sure what happened, but Autodesk purchased an engine called BitSquid that was used, or it was called BitSquid, which was then renamed to Stingray, and that was used to power Vermintide. And those guys were really sharp. They had some really cool stuff. I remember reading their blogs, and they were like really with it, and like the things that they were writing were really helpful, even for, for me on a technical level to kind of understand how they're doing things.
Absolutely.
And then the engine got shut down. So that is one place where it has negatively affected. It's like that option to potentially use a different engine is now nixed. Those guys broke off and made a new engine called Our Machinery, and it was pretty interesting sounding. Like it was just an engine that was built on C, like very bare bones, like really close to the metal, so to speak. Had some pretty cool tools, and I was really following it. I was like, what, this sounds really cool. And then out of nowhere, I got an email that told me to delete all the source code. If I possessed a copy of it, no explanation, totally torn off the face of the earth. Like not a single word has heard, and nobody knows what happened. So again, something affected the ecosystem to like stop two engines, and that has remained a mystery to me. And I don't know what happened there. It sounds like maybe some legal stuff happened, but nothing has been publicly disclosed.
Mm-hmm.
So so with that in mind, the other part I want to segue into is that tools have never been better, and I'm pretty sure I don't think tools have ever been cheaper. I mean, Max used to be. I was listening to a thing about early ray tracing and rendering, and Max used to be $2,000-$3,000 to buy 3D Studio Max or like those real 3D packages.
Yeah.
Now you have Blender, which is an insanely strong powerhouse, and it's just gotten better over the last 15-20 years. I use Blender now. I love it. And so that plus Unreal and Unity both being kind of free, you can really get your feet wet getting into game development. You have so modeling, asset creation, all over here. Pretty solid engines to work from that have like, reputable games shipped in them, which is always a good indication. You see big games shipped in an engine, that's like, okay, you could probably do something with it. So I think the barrier of entry to making games has never really been lower, and I think it's just getting better. Now you see stuff like the AI tools popping up for texture synthesis. There's 3D asset creation based on prompts that I've seen kind of demoed. And that stuff is coming, man. Like it's coming. So
I'm so
getting lower.
Like, I want to pick your brain on AI because I'm so curious, especially your perspective as an artist and someone who develops and how it all works. But so you firmly stand with the idea that the game development is the lowest bar for entry than it ever has been.
Yeah, I think it's getting pretty low. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good thing. That's positive. Because that allows creation for more things. And I would even say that like that makes sense because I feel like maybe even 5 years ago, indie games, sure they were common, but I don't feel they were as common as they are now. I feel like you see indie game developments pop up all the time of these incredible looking video games that are just, dang, small company, indie game dev, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it all the time.
Yeah, I'm on What's on Steam every day, and it's like a little tool that Dejavon made, what's on Steam.com, and every day it's just updated with new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of stuff that comes out, and sometimes there's just hidden gems in there, man, like that are just so cool. Yep. And stuff that I like totally had forgotten about. So yeah, the velocity of development, the velocity of creation has gotten a lot higher too. Like the speed of development has gone up. Which is cool. Like if people can like have their creative output and achieve that, cool, I'm all for it, man.
No, exactly, dude. The more for everyone. It's like, it can't be better. You were talking about the price of games and how they gone up. I remember looking last night. Kena Bridge of Spirits is only $30.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Oh my god.
Yeah, first game. I think we were also thinking like, hey, it's our first game. We want people to like check it out. There are probably more reasons, but it was on the shorter end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted people to play it, man. Like,
yeah, I get it. I totally get it. You want a lower barrier. It's like barrier for entry, and that's what the price is, right? Because obviously, you got to make money, but you want people to play it. But man, when I was looking it up last night and I saw that it was $30, I was like, holy fucking shit! That's insane. That's insane. There's so many games over the past couple of years, even as a streamer, that I purchased. And I was pissed off that it cost so much. I was like, this game some of these games do not warrant the prices. And then there's other games on the opposite side of that spectrum to where they've only like been like $10. Like I'm sure the most popular one everyone could think of is Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight frequently goes on sale for $8. And you can, if you're a fan of that franchise at all, it fills the space of 2 full price games.
Yeah.
So that always blows my mind. Always blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where else to say. I had a thought, but it didn't get committed to memory, so I think we're good.
Oh. Yeah. I know the most recent price that people are pretty upset about is Breath of the Wild sequel, Tears of the Kingdom. It's actually it's getting raised to $70. It's being sold as $70, and a lot of people are pretty upset about it because they consider it to be not only the same game engine, so they see it as like a potential expansion DLC, a very full price game. Like the typical Overwatch 2. That's I think what people are looking at it as.
Yeah, I really shouldn't say much about that. But I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe it, bro.
Like Overwatch 2?
I was dude, I had question marks in my eyes, and my eyes started spinning like a slot machine. I was like, huh? Like, are you kidding me? Like, what is going on here?
But I think a lot of people see that, and they're like, why are the prices going up? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Tears of the Kingdom is going to be like.
Yeah, me too.
We reference Breath of the Wild a lot.
You could see it. You could definitely see it.
It was that's a neat game, man. I really definitely a breath of fresh air. When that came out, I was like, oh, this is really different. It's not really it doesn't like tickle the Zelda scratch, but like it's cool. Like I like it.
Yeah. It Breath of the Wild has a very special place in my heart because it's like that game came out when I was going through a pretty rough time, and then it was also the first game I ever streamed. It was the first game I ever speedran. So Breath of the Wild to me is just like, dude, Nintendo could literally just like invert the world vertically and horizontally and release it, and I would be like, oh my god, the best thing ever. Just because like that's, but I acknowledge that. I completely acknowledge that as as you know, as a consumer.
That's I have studios that I'm like that for. I'm like, I don't care what you make, I'll play it. Like
Yep.
slow clap, I'll play anything they make. Like I don't care. FromSoft, I'm one of those guys. Like I don't care what they make, I'm gonna play
Dude,
it. You know, like
there are very few studios as big as FromSoft create so many great games back to back.
yeah. I mean,
can't
their
think of
track record is really long too. Like they had some
Mm-hmm.
duds in there. Like is it like something Ninja that was on the original like 360 or something, and it was like kind of rough. But they had, like Kingsfield is those games are interesting. Shout out Tower Abyss is pretty interesting. Like
Huh.
but yeah, FromSoft is good. They make good stuff now, man. Like
You know,
got good direction.
it's funny because as a kid I played Armored Core, had no idea it was FromSoft. Had
What are your
no
thoughts
idea.
on Armored Core?
You know what? Okay, I'll tell you why. The reason I love it.
Okay.
I use the game to recreate Zoids. I would try. So Zoids is an anime where it's like Gundam, but instead of it being humanoid robots, they're all animal robots.
Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, just quickly Google Zoids and you'll see dinosaurs, lions, tigers in form. And I would try and recreate those models as close, like color scheme wise, stat wise, in Armored Core, and that's how I played the game. And I would just try and create my favorite Zoids, and that's what cool. Liger 0X. I would be like, I literally named my fucking building or my robots after the Zoids because it was like the only thing that they had.
So are we gonna see that come back with the new Armored Core?
I have no idea.
You gonna return to the Zoids?
I don't know, man. It's different now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I should.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Armored Core 6 though. Who knows what that game's gonna even look like?
Wild card, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
who knows what it even looks like?
Yeah. I've never played one, so I'm intrigued.
Yeah. It's did you ever obviously I'm assuming you've been to arcades. Have you ever been to an arcade that had it was the video game that you would sit in. It was like a little console and it had two handles on each side and a button on each handle, and based on how like you maneuvered the handles, you would control this robot. Virtual On, that's the name.
On. Yeah.
That's basically what Armored Core feels like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Virtual
On.
So
if you like Virtual
awesome,
On,
dude, that game was so cool, man.
Dude, fucking Virtual On.
So cool.
Yeah. Sailor Moon robot was the best one.
Yeah. That was cool. War Final Assault was another one of those like twin stick first person. Well, that was third person, but first person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some really sick arcade games, man. They just like never got like, released outside of the arcade.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of talk about the elephant in the room.
Huh.
So you're playing Kaizo again, man.
Oh yeah.
That's good to see.
It's been 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. When are we gonna play Tired?
Never. I'm good. No. Okay. Why it's cool, dude. He's a great developer. Tired looks boring as fuck. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I watched I remember I saw it get released while I was on paternity leave, and I was like, holy shit, it's here. And then I watched Grim to see what it was like. It was like, oh, that's an interesting level gimmick. Oh, it's the entire hack. And it was like, oh, okay. I'm good. Yeah.
It's an interesting design constraint. Like I thought that was a really interesting design constraint, and how he designed levels to get around that constraint was really neat. Like slope speed, block, stuff like that. So cool.
Yeah, I don't want to say never. I'm sure I'll be eventually put into a position where I'll play it. But after not playing Kaizo for 6 months, the reason I stopped playing Kaizo, there's a couple reasons why I stopped playing Kaizo, but one of the main ones is I was just so tired of it all. I was just so tired of doing the exact same things. You play 100 hacks and you're going to see the exact same obstacle several times across that 100. And it was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then people make things arbitrarily difficult with no reason. And I don't know, Tired Mario, that has to be one of my least favorite gimmicks. For anyone who doesn't know, if you haven't seen Tired Mario World, the gimmick of the entire hack is Tired Mario is he can't run. Mario is stuck in the walking position the entire time, and that has to be one of my least favorite. Because it's been in like jump levels, they've had that same gimmick has been in a couple jump or the jump hacks. It's been in a couple others too, and I'm never a fan. Never a fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't really formed an opinion yet. I have poked around with it, and it seems hard. Yeah. I think that's the opinion that I have.
That's why it.
Yeah. I just beat the reeling, and it took long enough, but I really liked that level. That was a cool level, man. So I think that's where my super hard hacks start and stop. So
yeah. And from what I've seen of it for Wyatt, it looks so creative. It looks incredibly creative. It looks like it is not short on that front at all. But I don't know, man. Oh, another 40-hour 10 exit hack. That's so brutal. That's so brutal on the psyche.
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to in games? What's coming up that you're excited about?
Obviously Tears of the Kingdom. That's a no-brainer. Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy, specifically 7 and 10. Growing up with those, I played 6 for the first time last year, and that was incredible. So I love Final Fantasy. It's actually the Final Fantasy 16 is the first game I've ever bought a collector's edition for. I've never bought a collector's edition in my life for anything. I was like, you know what? I want to get a collector's edition. I saw the statue. I was like, I want that fucking statue. So I was like, I got it. Games though that are like not really on the big AAA scale. Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars.
Okay.
It's the prequel to The Messenger. And they got Mitsuda, the person who did the music for Chrono Trigger, to write music for Sea of Stars. And it's going to be inspired on Chrono Trigger. It's a turn-based RPG. Can't wait for that. That comes out in August.
Cool.
I love The Messenger and I love Chrono Trigger. So to have like any kind of combination of those two things is insane. There's this other indie game coming out called Gravity Circuit. Have you heard of that one?
You're name dropping stuff that I haven't heard of. This is cool.
Oh, dude, Gravity Circuit. I played this game, right? Imagine Mega Man, but you're not Mega Man.
Okay.
You're fucking Ryu from Street Fighter.
Okay.
And that is how you defeat everything in the game. And you've got a grappling hook.
That's pretty cool.
I cannot. Dude, cool. I played the demo for it, and it's like, just give it to me. Just give it to me already, please.
Yeah. Dude, the way that we describe games is so interesting. It's I find myself getting into that trap where I'm like, it's like this, but also like this. And like that is a really effective way of describing things, right? Like and I know that some people are like, man, you shouldn't describe things like that. And I'm just like, well, dude, it's like really effective. Like it's a very optimal way of describing something. Like
it's the best way to teach anyone anything is through how they relate to whatever you're trying to explain to them, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna sit there and try and explain to you like, oh, it's the fucking Undertaker of the WWE. You know, like, I don't know if you're into WWE, but I'm sure you've played Mega Man, and I know you are at least familiar with Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's, I think the one that people get annoyed with, though, is Dark Souls. Everything is fucking Dark Souls.
Or roguelike. Roguelike is
it's Souls-like. Oh, like, got one shot. It's Souls-like.
Yeah. It's dude, I could maybe take a break from seeing roguelites for a while. I think. I'm kind of, dude. The Vampire Survivors thing was awesome. Like to the point where like I was even like I'm ready to make my own and like throw my hat into the arena. And so like that game, that was like okay. So how often do we see new genres pop up? Right, like in your lifetime, how many genres can you think of that have popped up as like new?
Oh, new? None. Just Vampire Survivors. Maybe Slay the Spire. If you like, it's still a roguelike, but it's definitely different. I would
But
say it's like a
it's like a
card based. Yeah.
solitaire roguelike, which that is a
Yeah.
really different design. The Battle
Yeah.
Royale was the other one that
Oh,
kind of popped
yeah,
up.
battle royale, auto chess. Someone
Auto
mentioned auto
chess.
chess.
Yeah,
Yeah, deck
yeah,
builders. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
Oh, dude, Minecraft. That was a huge one. Like the whole
oh
survival
yeah,
thing. Like that was,
sandbox,
yeah.
sandbox.
So it's like anytime like one of those new genres pop up, like there is still room to innovate. And that really fills me with hope. Like that, like
Hmm.
because sometimes I'm just like, dude, we're devoid of. I get into that existential mode where I'm like, dude, there's nothing creative left. Like, what is there possible? Like, what possibly could I work on that would ever be meaningful? Like, I don't. One thing that like I really did enjoy about Kana was that like in my mind we were ultimately respecting people's time. We didn't throw you on a bunch of like grind stuff quest or like fetch 3. It was like we did what we wanted to do and we got out of the way.
Yeah,
And I as a player too, I like that a lot. I don't want to necessarily get sucked into a game for like 60 to 100 hours unless it's Noita, in which case, yeah, please more. Like keep doing that to me. But you know, I want to just make sure that I share like the time so somebody else can play something else, right? So
yeah.
it's really cool that somebody will take time that they only have one of and then like put it somewhere. So and to see that like there's still room for innovation and room for creativity is like really, I'm like, okay, so if I just put the right, right pieces together, it's gonna work, right? So
Mhm.
um yeah.
I
There was
feel like
kind of
with
multiple thoughts there, kind of like all
no, no,
strung
you're good.
together,
You're
but yeah,
good. No, you're good. No, I would definitely agree. Vampire Survivor was super unique take. Super
yeah,
unique take. Such a cool video game.
yeah.
Incredible.
And
Yeah,
the some of the offshoot clones are really cool too.
yeah.
They're like 20 minutes till dawn. Yeah, yeah.
Rotato's pretty cool. I played that one.
Potato's cool. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I like Rotato.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Um, so do you want to see a little bit of what I do? I can give you like a little bit of a.
I'm down.
All
I'm
right.
super down. Yeah.
So I've been working on this prototype, and a few people have seen it. And I've been kind of showing it off a little bit. But
Yeah.
how would I do that? I'm gonna just share my
No, yeah,
screen
share
here.
share screen and I'll make it work.
But I have been working on like a little prototype, and maybe this will kind of give you the lay of the land. So this is Visual Studio if you're sharing the screen and seeing everything, and this is C++. So this is kind of what I'm working in, and this is the Unreal Engine. So I've been working on this prototype, and a while back, maybe 10 years ago, I had built this little prototype where you play as like a dude and you grab stuff and you spin yourself around things. And I was driving one day because I moved recently and I have kind of a long drive, and so I
Oh.
was listening to the Neon White soundtrack. And if you haven't played Neon White, that game rips. I just hit F so it skips all the story, and then I play all the really cool platforming levels because
Uh-huh.
that stuff is really fun. So I was like, I kind of want to like make my own kind of thing. So I took like an old idea and I started like reworking. So the core thing is that you rotate stuff, and by right clicking you pick the object to work with, and by left clicking and dragging you can start spinning and rotating things. So
Interesting.
so by doing that, you can grab onto things and kind of pull them around. Um, and sorry, the frame rate's a little bit
No, you're good. You're good. I don't
doinks
think
here,
anyone's
but
gonna sit here and complain about a fucking like look at what I'm working on. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. So this is just a really simple idea, and I have ran into a couple problems with it already, but um, and I actually I'm really happy to say this game does actually feature regrabs, um,
Oh,
which is
fuck off. Fuck off.
so just yeah. So I don't know. It's something I've been working on, throwing stuff together. The core idea is spin, rotate shit. Doesn't matter
Oh
how
my
big it is.
god.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out is like how big can things be. And I found really quickly that there's a technical limit to how big things can actually be. Uh, when big things rotate, you do not go with them. You will like clip through them. So I've learned pretty quickly that it's important to.
Interesting.
So yeah, this is kind of the prototype. This is what I've been working on.
It reminds me of that dungeon in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, where you like turn a lot of the. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
true.
camel.
Breath of the Wild
It's the
hell,
camel.
a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah. So yeah, small stuff like
And
this.
this is
Like,
just an independent project you're working on?
yeah. I
Ah,
sometimes will just have little ideas and like want to just kind of get something out and kind of poke around. And none of this stuff will ever see the light of day until I like actually show people. So will
yeah,
this
yeah.
ever be a game that I finish? Probably not. Like the reality is that like finishing a game takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um, but is it like a fun thing to like poke around in and like get practice? Like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, that's sick.
Yeah, so I thought I'd kind of
I've never seen anyone work on a video game before, so this is actually really interesting.
yeah, this is kind of what it's like. You just grab stuff and slide things around, and like everything's just kind of
Huh.
loose. So, um,
Huh.
yeah, I put those together. I was like, one day we went to a museum, an art museum, and I came back and I was like really inspired. And I was like, oh, I love the way that looks. So I went home and like made this, and I have no idea what it is now. Like what the hell am I making? So, but you know, it's really fun, man. Like there's so many like little small like it's just something that always stays fresh for me. So it's really a blessing. I just like encourage people like to make things just in general. Like just keep
Yeah.
making stuff, whatever it is. Like have an output of some sort if you want. If you want
Creative
or not.
output. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Creative output is good. Creative output is really good.
Yeah. Unreal like stuff.
Rotating.
Takes a
Man,
lot
that
of
looks like it would be like just a puzzle. Just a bunch of puzzles.
yeah. And I was like in my mind, so the biggest problem that I ran into with it, to kind of loop back, is what does the world look like if like an entire civilization just like exists in the concept of like rotating things? Like how is that built into the civilization? How does that affect level design? And then I'm like, dude, this is too much. Like this is just too much. I just want to make a game, man. Like, and like I feel like it's really I don't necessarily want to just put it in an abstract space because it like needs some sort of grounding. So that's kind of where I like hit a wall immediately, and it's like I hit the limit of like my I had the idea, I put it together, and I'm like, well, now I need to make something out of it. And that has been like the case with a lot of prototypes I make is like I'll get something and I'll get a core mechanic, and then I hit the wall that like generally other people like kind of hit fill,
Mhm.
right? Like they like kind of bring their part to it and like help push it into the next dimension. So um I'm kind of sitting in this impasse where I'm like sitting and I'm letting it sit in the back of my mind and I'm like kind of waiting for something to come to me, but I haven't discarded it yet. So um it's
You
yeah.
think on a whole different level, man. You think like the way your creativity is like processing things and how civilization would be. You know, I didn't. If I start talking about mushrooms, people are gonna start calling me fucking Joe Rogan. But goddamn, dude, that's like it's pretty cool. Like you're thinking just so beyond what I would think of.
Yeah, I yeah, because like I think about like what the art design would look like, and I'm like, what would it like? Yeah, if I could just turn these big things, like what does that have, and how does that impact other things? So I think it's a days like a domino effect. I'm like, I think from the one thing, and then I also get a lot of time to drive, so I think about this stuff when I'm like driving. I love those neutral behaviors, man. Like
When I think
showering,
of oh, go
awesome.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Driving, awesome. Doing dishes, awesome. Those are like the best places to like get ideas because my brain like finally gets to like
When I think of rotation, I think of clocks because of
okay.
all the gears. That's all I think about.
I was thinking of time of day at one point, and like certain things grow in day and certain things don't at night, or like
Huh?
buds kind of close up. So like just kind of shifting the sun, that
Yeah.
would be. But like, how
Huh?
big do I take it?
Oh,
Yeah.
that must be so difficult. I feel like so you know I used to be a tattoo artist, and one of the things that my mentors taught me was when I was first a mentor or when I was first getting mentored, um, I was forced to draw everything that I wanted to draw with one kind of pencil. And if you've
Mhm.
ever messed with graphite, you know there's like over 20 different levels of graphite and saturation of like how dark you can get. And he made me learn that if you can't do something with one pencil, you're going to be terrible with it if you try and do it with eight, right? You should be able to try and reach as far as you can with the one to be able to fully utilize all eight. And
Mhm.
I think there is such a level of creativity that you tap into when you are working under restricted conditions.
Yes.
And would you say that obviously I don't know how these programs work or anything, but I feel like the restrictive conditions are almost non-existent and you kind of can do whatever the fuck you want
Yeah.
instead of development now, which must be really difficult to like have that focus.
Yeah, it is a struggle on the day to day. Like I'll see something and like even with work, I'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if? And then I have to remember that like constraints are important, like from like a design perspective, and then like on a bigger production, like changing one thing can actually have a lot of lasting consequences. Like, um, I'll give a really small example, but the speedrunners found out, and this was a complete accident, but we have a difference between a short hop and a full hop in Kena Bridge of Spirits. And the short hop, I accidentally had the air friction value tuned by like 0.2 off. So people figured that out and they were short hopping everywhere. So like really small things like that, like by adding in something else, it can change metrics of a space, which has a downstream effect on artists that are making the space. Does this validate their puzzle if they have things spaced out in a certain way? Can it be exploited by like just using this new thing that just got put in for some reason? It's you have to be really careful, especially if you're deeper into development. For me, in a space like this, I've learned that like if I'm gonna do something, I want it to do the one thing really, really well, instead of having like a bunch of something. Just do the one rotating thing. Do the rotating thing. Do the grab, and it does something when you drag the mouse. Just make dragging the mouse do really cool stuff, and then just kind of go from there. And that can balloon if I don't constrain that correctly. So you're right. I mean, I'm right in the same camp with you. Like use the same pencil size. Like don't mess around if you don't know what you're doing. And then honestly, at the end of the day, you might get comfortable doing it. That like
Exactly. I mean, you look at some of like the classics, right? You look at some of the classics that came out on the SNES and how well they utilized those tools that they had at the time because they couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
I always think of that and how interesting, like some of the people would argue that some of the best video game music was probably like Mega Man X, right? It's just those are timeless. Those are timeless songs that you always hear. And if that same team came together and tried to recreate those today, I always try and think of like, would that happen? I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of analysis paralysis that comes with like big tool sets, man. Like I just get in the state of like, dude, well, this is overwhelming. What do I do? And then, dude, even now, it's like, how do I achieve what I want to do? There's like 10 different ways to do it, sometimes even more. And then like, there's gonna be different nuances with each one. Like they're gonna have consequences essentially. So it's like getting down the path. Like, how do I choose dude? Choosing inputs is shockingly difficult. We went through so many on Kena. Like at one point attacks were on the face buttons and then shifting those to the shoulder buttons, and then somebody saying, I don't know if the shoulders are a good idea, but having them on the shoulders is less mashable, where if they're on the face you can just mash. So there's a lot of like the input was like a different thing, but everything is really interconnected and finely woven together, and being aware of those connections is that's real challenging, like keeping your mind on like how everything weaves together. That's something that I'm still working on, is like understanding what consequences decision that I have today is down the road, but not getting lost in it, right? That's also really, really easy, again, analysis paralysis, like overthinking something. So there's a balance, like to think too much, and then there's following intuition, but like being aware of where your intuition is leading you.
Yeah, I give it to people who create video games. It blows my mind that they even exist and they function as well as they do and they're as fun as they are, because it's wild. It's wild to think that some of these video games that we have exist.
Yeah.
And they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like, did you play Elden Ring? Yeah, you did play Elden Ring. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember because you got the fucking buggy shit at the beginning.
No, yeah.
Your horse.
Until the end of the game, I couldn't see enemies. Most enemies, like the roaming ones, I couldn't see them. So I played Elden Ring with invisible enemies for the most part.
I look at games like that and it's like, Jesus, how does this shit exist?
Yeah.
How does this shit fucking work, man?
And I had sympathy too, because I was like, dude, I have a rig that is outside of their tested specs. This is definitely on me to not buy a new rig. So I was like, I'm just gonna play what I have. Play it where the ball is, so to speak. So I was like, what a great game, man. That was the last time I got sucked into a really, really big game. That was the last time I think it was like a while that I had been sucked into something so that I got so invested into.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So AI.
Okay.
AI. Let's talk about AI for a second. I am someone who's so uneducated on how it all works. I fuck with Chat GPT probably like once a week and just either try and break it, try and get it to break prompt, like I've seen on Twitter a couple times, or I'll try it like, for example, right? Me and my wife are looking for a second vehicle and I want to get a truck. So I was asking what are the most reliable vehicles? And then I was having to give me like a pro and con list. I'm having to do these mundane tasks. But in the greater scope of things, when you look at how AI has evolved over the past 5 years and ChatGPT 1 compared to 3, do you think we're going to reach a time where people are just going to be able to create games by asking AI to do it for them? I think so.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to be as good. I think
There you
there
go.
always have to be a human that will like kind of, bolt down that, bolt everything down,
Yeah.
market it, make sure that people want to play it. Like, yeah, I think that there's going to be a human involved at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
I'm not worried. I actually use AI when I'm programming now. It's awesome. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
I keep
correct,
hearing
but yeah.
I keep hearing about a bunch of programmers. They're like, I've got this problem that could have taken me weeks to fix, and I asked ChatGPT, and it's fixed.
I
Yeah.
haven't had anything. I haven't had a leap that big yet, where it's like really blown my mind and solved something. But I'll sometimes be typing something, and it will just jump in because I use GitHub Copilot, and that is
Oh.
like got an integration into my text environment. So as I'm typing, it'll make suggestions,
Mhm.
and it will sometimes surprise me. I'm like, hey, thanks, and it's
Yeah.
like it saves a few minutes, but a few
Mhm.
minutes, like maybe like once a day, it adds up over the
Yeah.
course of
Absolutely.
5, 6 years, right? And
Yeah.
if it's just
Absolutely.
getting better, like I'm cool with that, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. ChatGPT 4 is supposed to come out soon. Oh.
yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested. And then I heard about I think it was like the big one of the big image sets because I really adopted AI when I saw Midjourney. I was like, that is so cool. So
I'm
I
sorry. When you saw what?
Midjourney, that was the image synthesis.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yep.
So it was making these really beautiful images, and then I got hooked, like Elden Ring hooked on making images in Midjourney. Like I was obsessed.
Interesting.
And I was generating all sorts of stuff, and then I did like a presentation at work because I was like really into it, and I was like, here, this is how we use it, and I got to hear some perspectives on like how people feel about it, like especially in the art community. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
like the Midjourney thing is cool, but it does kind of take away the thing that I enjoy doing, which is like the initial like ideation of like making the composition and like doing some of that stuff. And I could empathize, like I understand that just to that point. It's like some, getting to take away solving some like math stuff. I'm like, yeah, I kind
Mhm.
of like doing that, like it's kind of fun.
Mhm.
So it's been really interesting, and now I'm just like whatever about it. Like I found the whole arc, my mid journey arc was like I'm so obsessed. This is the coolest shit ever, and then I'm like, okay, it's just a part of life now.
It's just a part
Yeah.
of life.
And
I
anybody that thinks that we can go back from this point, it's like I don't think we can,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No,
Like,
you can't close the box.
yeah,
Pandora's box has been opened.
it's open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm really that's intriguing because as an artist yourself, I always hear from people inside of like artistic backgrounds and perspectives that you know AI generated art is like this devil, it's demon,
yeah,
and they hate how it pulls art from sources that already exist from existing artists without giving credit to them. Um, and I think there's been like a couple instances where I've seen an AI generated picture that is, I don't want to say a mirror for mirror image of something that's already been, designed, but close enough to where it's like, oh, that seems a little weird.
yeah.
Uh, what is your, when it all came out, were you just completely fascinated? Is that all it
Totally,
was?
totally. It caught me so out of the blue
Mhm.
because we were messing with NeuroBlender, and NeuroBlender was like messy and gross and blobby. And
Mhm.
then Dolly and Midjourney started showing up, and I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty
Mhm.
neat. And I understand that like people are irritated that like because that somebody scraped their stuff without consent. I think that isn't great. I wouldn't want somebody to like take my stuff and like it to be in a data set and potentially like affect my livelihood. that isn't great.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, there is an effort going on now to like curate the data sets and to remove things that people would like to have removed, which I think is a really good step for the AI people to like, hey,
Try and play ball. Try and play
yeah,
ball and make
instead
ends
of just
meet.
being like,
Yeah,
screw
yeah,
you, we got what we want, you know?
yeah,
So in
yeah.
some sense, the genie can be kind of coerced back into the bottle, but um, you know, he's out and about now. But
Yeah.
I was definitely fascinated, and there was some really, I actually in that demo that you saw, there are a couple things that are AI generated in there. There are two textures that I had used, and there's a tile mode that will make something seamless, so you don't see a seamless texture. Basically, is like if you were to pan the image like this way, it would just repeat infinitely, so it
Okay.
doesn't have
Okay.
any seams. And those are
Okay.
really
Gotcha.
useful for game textures because you can just throw them on a terrain, and now there's no seams. You don't see tiles everywhere.
Yeah.
So I had made a couple for like sandstone, and I made one for like some like old wood. And so
Huh.
it is I do really, I think it has utility, man. Like, and it's like, where do you want to
It's
put
a
it into your
tool.
workflow? Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tool. It's a tool to either to make your life more efficient. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm I as someone who has a small artistic background, I I'm trying to think of how to word this delicately. I empathize with people who worry about their livelihoods being ruined. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Like I totally get that. I totally get that. But when you think of like artistic philosophy and the idea of where do ideas even come from in the first place? Everything is just a reflection of nature, right? Nature is the true the true stem of where all art comes from.
Yes.
So when I look at AI, it's essentially doing that exact same thing. It's just the next level, right? Like humans are creating art from a reflection of nature, and now AI is creating art from a reflection of humans.
Yeah. And I
You
think
know.
that it makes some people uncomfortable, right? Like, I think it's like it is the first time in reality where we've like looked at it and been like, machines are starting to supersede us in some ways.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they've been quietly superseding us for a while, man. Like, you
Yeah.
know, and so I think it's just like the first time where it's like, now it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a good point. Is that, you know, that is a good point. And one thing that I've heard a lot is that like it's really important to be able to adapt and to like kind of roll with it, like figure out how to work it into your stuff. And I am really glad that like if people want to have their stuff pulled out, like that they can. That I think is really important. Like consent and agency is like kind of, it's really nice to have that stuff. Like especially in a
100%.
modern, you know, civilized society, like having consent and agency is like
100%.
like
100%.
super important. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
There's this artist I follow on Twitter, and what he does is he actually will get a bunch of AI images, and he'll like take like little pieces, like he'll do like a dark butterfly, and then he'll crop the wings out, and he'll keep them onto the side, and then he'll do this with like 50 images, and then he'll combine them all together and form this beautiful fucking piece of art that's like, whoa, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think of like roll with the punches, and he's you know just using things as tools.
Yeah,
I'm super for AI. I think it's so cool. I think AI is so awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of like all of our engineering prowess. Like it, as a humanity, like it's we could only be here now, right? Like it's a sign that our computing is strong enough to do this very interesting thing. And I would say to like hamstring something in its infancy or like put restrictions on it would just be like tragic, to say the least. Like it just I just want to see where it goes. And like I think there's a big level of responsibility that comes with something like this. It is a really powerful tool.
100%.
Like I think it's going to be like, yeah, I think some of my bigger concerns, and it started coming with Chat GPT, I think impressed me more than the image synthesis because it was like emulating like I had to like spit out like a love poem in the style of Jack Kerouac, and it's like that's really concerning because like it's gonna start like I don't want to live in a world of noise where I'm trying to get like information and news articles, and I'm having to wade through a sea of people, a sea of noise to get valid information, right? Like,
I mean, I hate to
yeah.
tell you, man. I hate to tell you, we're right there, man. We're already there.
I'm just concerned that it'll get worse, you know. And then the other part is like, if it's self-learning, if it's learning on its own noise, that's not great either. Like, it needs to have like a stream of like good stuff coming in, I think. So yeah, the curation of those data sets is important, but like
at the end of the day, humans made it, so it's always going to be flawed.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
it's always going to be flawed.
Yeah. It's an exciting time. It's like, it feels like the Wild West, right? Like, and I that's a nasty analogy, but
no, I think like, it's a rational analogy to have. Yeah, it's just like it's so new and no one knows what to do with it, and we're just kind of rolling with it.
Do you remember the internet when it came out?
Oh my god, yes.
What was that like? Because I have my stories from like when the internet came out. Like,
the first thing I ever did on the internet was go look up Pokemon.
Yo.
Dude, yo. I was 7 years old. My parents got AOL, and I remember I was so curious of who the legendary birds were. I wanted to know. And I would remember it was loading Moltres in fucking strips of information, and it would give like the lore chunk, and was like, "Dad, let me print this." And he's like, "No, you're gonna take up all the ink," because I wanted to print all 151 Pokemon. And that was my first experience on the internet. Was I just wanted to know more, because back then you had to have a strategy guide, or you had to have friends who knew. Those were like the only two options, right? So it's that was my first experience on the internet. I remember the room. I remember everything about it. Yeah. What about you?
It was I was doing a school report in the first grade for about leprechauns, and I remember I printed out the word leprechaun at the library, and it was like we were making leprechaun like traps for school, like for St. Patrick's Day. And like the teachers would go by and put candy under everything, and I remember I was so excited because I went around and I was like, "Hey guys, this is printed." Like, that was such a big deal to me that I printed text.
Yeah.
Like,
God, that sounds like such a caveman thing, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds like such a caveman thing.
Yeah. It's so funny, man. And then like Google. Do you remember asking Jeeves? You remember that?
I remember Ask Jeeves. I do.
And now I ask ChatGPT instead of Jeeves. Yeah.
Yep.
He could have been around in a big way, but he's not. You can't ask him anything anymore.
I wonder what Ask Jeeves is up to. Dude, that would be the perfect boomer marketing to be like, "You've heard of ChatGPT. Well, guess who's back? Guess who's fucking back, baby?" Fucking Ask Jeeves.
He's got new tricks, dude. Yeah.
Ask Jeeves AI. That'd be so hilarious.
We got to bring that back, man.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Google, that was so I remember pre-search engines. We used like Copernicus, and like basically there's a bunch of like private indexing engines that were like standalone applications, and those were mind-blowing, and that was like so strange. And my grandfather was always very guarded because it wasn't really filtered. So there's a lot of like just adult content roaming on the internet in the early 90s, like, and like mid 90s. So it was like I had supervision, and then Google was like pretty locked down, pretty safe for a little bit. But that was wild, man. And then like music, listening to music, like discovering music in the early days of the internet was so fun, dude. Like,
so which of the three fucking devils did you go down? Did you do Napster, LimeWire, or Kazaa?
I did WinMX. My dad was really into piracy, and WinMX was like, I think it was built off like, I want to say like eDonkey or like one of those protocols. Like, if you remember eDonkey or like eMule, like those are like,
no, I don't.
Like pre-torrent basically.
Dude.
I also used Kazaa, LimeWire, and Napster. So I think I used everything at some point. Like, and then I had an MP3 player that could hold like 5 songs, and it was the best, dude. It was so sick. Like,
yeah. Oh man, it's so crazy how Like you were saying earlier, the velocity of technological advancement, and not even just video games, but like when you said, "Look, I printed something," it's like that's right, because like printing something off the internet, it was like the internet was new, so it's just
It
like
was
so
magic,
crazy.
man. It was magic.
It is, yeah.
And my grandfather, I remember him asking me, I think he was really irritated with me or something, and he goes, "How do you think that letter got on the screen, Tyler?" That's my name, by the way. Oops. But and I, in my mind, in my little brain, I was like, oh, like the letter just shoots through the tube, and like it was all magic, man, and like getting the thing from there to there, and now it's here in physical form, like
Yeah.
incredible. Like
Yeah.
it's still, if I sit back and think about it, it is still magic. Like
Yeah.
there's still magic, and there's little magicians. They're called, they're little magician people, and they make it all work too. And like did you know there's giant cables that run under the ocean that connect us all together?
Yep, I didn't know that. Yep.
Mind blowing, and like
Yeah.
like that is like what holds the internet together, and it's all cascading layers and layers of magic that have just been built up and built up. And so
Whenever I talk to Jakku about technology, and we just sit there and have that moment of like, God, it's so crazy. He's like, the only thing that people need to understand about technology is we've learned to capture electricity with rocks.
Yeah.
And that's like how he words it, and it's like, huh, that's all it is, huh?
Yeah. You just keep building it up, keep going from there. Yeah.
Oh.
So which were you? Napster, LimeWire?
Kazaa.
Kazaa was cool. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was so cool to like it was like a Power Man 5000 Matrix lobby song, Power Man 5000, and it was like not the right song at all, and that was really cool. I have a
really funny story. I don't know if you've heard it before.
I don't know if I have.
Okay, so so Kazaa. I've got two stories I'll tell you about real quick. One of them was, for the longest time, I thought Metallica sang the song "Free My Soul." Give me the free buzz, free my. For the longest time, I thought Metallica sang that song, because Kazaa, I was like downloading Metallica songs. I know earlier I said I would never put it on my playlist, but I was 14, right? So for the longest time, I was like, dang, Metallica's got this giant range of music. It's crazy. Like, I've got Master of the Puppets, and then Free My Soul, and then Enter Sandman. Like that. That was pretty embarrassing when I realized that it was Uncle Kracker. It was Uncle Kracker who sang that song. And then the second story I've got about Kazaa is the one time I downloaded Linkin Park's Faint. It was Faint by Linkin Park, except it wasn't Faint by Linkin Park. It was literally a fucking donkey show.
Oh my God.
It was literally a fucking woman literally getting railed by a donkey on a farm.
Yeah, that happens. I feel like that happens. I've heard that story from like a lot of people that they've encountered that same video.
Ever forget that.
Yeah, I was like, what motivates people,
I was like 14. I wasn't even 4. I think I was 12. Yeah, I was 12, because it was in that, like, I'm remember like sitting here remembering what room in the house I was in, and I remember I downloaded it and I opened it, and then I was like, like, parents are gonna see it, like freaking out. and then I was like, wait a second.
That's not Linkin Park.
What does this look like? Yeah. Wait a second. What is this? What's jeez, really?
It's like it's like you like you hit your toe, and it like takes a second. It's like, hold on, what did I just see? Like the pure shock, and then your brain like clicks in.
Yeah.
Delayed response.
Yeah, man, how did we fucking survive that?
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. And MySpace was amazing too. Like that was a big one for me. It's like finding music through MySpace was like, and to some degree, Bandcamp has really filled that void that MySpace had, where it's like the discovery of new music.
Okay.
And I'll love using Bandcamp, man. And I don't know if you know this, but Epic Games actually acquired Bandcamp.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
is that a good thing?
I see it as political football. I think that there was like a whole thing they had with like was it Apple regarding like the App Store taking like a certain slice at the top, and I think that like things like Amazon Shopping and I think Bandcamp and a few of those platforms somehow get around that. So I think that they may have done that to be like, well, see, this guy does it. And so I don't know, but I'm cool with it, you know, like
Yeah.
as long as the product is still getting better. And that was like a couple of years ago that happened. So
I don't think I've ever used Bandcamp. I don't think I've ever used it.
if you liked MySpace for like music discovery, like Bandcamp would be right up your alley. It's I don't make recommendations lightly, and I think that Bandcamp is really cool. It also goes directly to the artist too, which is awesome.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I use Spotify for everything. I've discovered quite a few bands with Spotify, but
Spotify is pretty good. They have some really talented dudes over there that do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
People, yeah. That they had like what is that called? Wall of Sound. It's like a website where you can like just scroll, and it's like it's all the genres you can think of, and it's like arranged by like in like range of sonics and intensity. So at the very very bottom you have like bird song, like just like the most like whatever, I've never heard of this, and then at the top you have like really crazy like industrial stuff, and it's you just hit the button and it just like plays. I think it's Every Noise at Once, I think is what it's called. Every Noise at Once. Yeah, everynoise.com, and it's made by one of the Spotify engineers. It's really cool. Like if you want to see, like that's another really cool tool. Let
me see. What is it called? Everynoise.com. Everynoise.com.
It's not a donkey show, I promise. That'd be the biggest rooking of a lifetime.
Dude, I pulled this up and it's like, wait a second, this looks familiar. A Swiss house, a deep tech house, a jazzy drib, a dark psytrance. Oh.
And it just keeps going. You can also, I think there's a button to like play like 10 seconds. And sometimes I'll like, oh, that sounded kind of cool. What the hell was that?
Are these DMCA?
Yeah,
obviously.
And there's a little arrow next to each genre, and that'll actually bring you to like a band map that will show you like who is the biggest in that genre. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool little tool. But
holy shit,
the velocity of information has never been higher, right? Like,
oh my god. Oh, and now here's the thing: would you consider that a problem or not?
No, like I'm cool with it.
No?
Like, yeah. I would say, I mean, information speed of information is good as long as it's like the right information. I think one problem that I run into personally is that like I need to evaluate if my opinions are my own or if it's somebody else's because I'm taking in so much.
I do that all the time. I try, like, if I look at or if there's an opinion I'm forming that like draws some strong emotion out of me, I always like just take that second of like, is this what values is this affecting of me that is causing me to have this, or is this just an opinion that I've heard so many times that it's like just subconsciously put inside of me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I have to be careful with, you know, I have to be careful with what I consume, and like when I consume it. Like certain phases, like I will be more receptive to new information, and I think I have to be careful of like, well, it's good for me to like really consider like what is my opinion and what is somebody else's, and then like it's also like really sometimes nice to sit down and be like, why is this thing good, or to like kind of I've said that like opinions are my own and subject to change, and like I try to like I want to remain teachable, because I don't know everything, and I don't want to be the guy that has all the answers, you know. So
yeah, 100%.
I'm cool with the velocity of information being really high if I can leverage it to like make sure that I'm informed correctly. But I don't want to use that for evil. Like I don't want to just be the guy that's like, but this and this. It's like that's exhausting, and that's like not a way for me to like live my life in a fulfilling way. I'm gonna annoy myself. Like, so it's I think it's a good thing ultimately. I think that it's going to have consequences on our like the way our psyche and attention works that I'm sure there's going to be studies and stuff, but the endless scrolling of TikTok, I'm not a fan of that. That is a velocity that needs to slow down, and I think they're, you know, I have opinions on that, but
again, 100%.
I don't know if those opinions are my own or if it's something that I read, but I
As a content creator, utilizing every possible way to get my name out there is obviously smart, for the well-being of my business. And TikTok is the one I refuse. Absolutely refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse.
Why is that? What is your gut reaction on that?
Several things. First of all, the target audience of TikTok. I do not like to attract a younger audience. And that may be to my own detriment, but the average user of TikTok, I forgot the exact percentages, but I did look them up. It's like most of them are ages between like 13 and 20, right? Like that's like the biggest void of people on the app. And then second of all, dude, it's literally owned by the CCP. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I get it. This thing is just like a tracking device that is, recording everything that I say to the point where I could probably like type in something to the search bar and it's going to pop up with something that we just talked about. I totally get that. And I understand that that's happening. It doesn't mean I want to exacerbate that problem anymore with TikTok.
And it's crazy because like the main vector, like the reason why that's being done is to sell you something. And it's like, you're putting all this technology into something to sell me something. Like, why? Like, why is that worth so much money now? Like, so yeah, they're trying to sell me something before I know that I want it, ideally, right? But why? Like,
and I know, like, I'm sure you've heard of how they do that with pregnant women. Have you seen that? How they like target, I think, for example, based on your purchase history, can within like some high percent tell you if you're pregnant or not based on your purchase history and all the data that they have. Like that technology is wild.
Yeah. Maybe too far. Maybe we dial it back a little bit.
I'm in the same boat. The same boat.
I think there's like a level of responsibility, and like that's maybe a little excessive. Like, leave people alone.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. I don't know. And then I've gone over the terms of service for TikTok also, and some of the things that the TikTok like that you're allowing TikTok to do is insane. It is like insane. What? So when you have TikTok on your phone, whenever your phone connects to an internet source, you are giving it permission to also access devices on that internet source.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. That sounds like a nice feature for a piece of software that has nothing to do with my entire network. Like, it's really good for it to have that. I think that's cool.
Everyone does that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I think there's something. Here's another thing that's to be said about TikTok, is it's one of the applications that if you work for the government in the United States, you're not allowed to have on your phone.
I did see that go through. Yeah.
It's why? Right. And the question I asked too then is like, if they don't allow it for the government, why would they allow it for the people? I don't know. And maybe that's like, I need to think more on that one. But I think if it's that much of a dangerous thing for a government agency to keep, why? I don't know.
I would imagine like if you're a government in government, they probably have secure things, right?
Yeah, of course.
Again, there's so many other people that have secure things. So I guess that's kind of like the nice thing is that it leaves like businesses and people of our like on our own devices, we can implement rules on that if we want to, right? Like it doesn't need to be mandated. I think that is one side of the coin that I generally forget about is like the privacy thing, but I'm wondering on a psychological side, like what is it going to have? What is that going to be? Yeah. Because I've heard that like it's really having an impact on like here's another thing that I recognized. I've heard, right? Poop. Like, what does that mean, right? Like,
who have you heard from? Yeah.
So I think that it has a different impact in the long term. But I don't know. Like I don't know, and I think it's just going to take time to figure out like what the drawbacks are. Yeah. Or who knows? Maybe like the processing of information being faster is like not a bad thing. Like,
I think all things in moderation are fine. Yeah. All things in moderation are fine, and certain things need far more moderation, right?
Yeah.
Certain things need a lot more moderation.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, there are tools and techniques that people have figured out to get under people's skin and condition to make them come back. So behavioral psychology things, where like I think Bungie had posted a paper about how they structured Destiny to get people to come back. And sometimes that stuff is done in a way that like you may not be aware of. Like that, and that's not necessarily fair either. Like I'm not really consenting to have like my time sucked away from me without me really being cognizant of that. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that it's their fault. It is definitely my fault because I'm engaging in it. But like people that have addictive personalities or like really get dialed into stuff, really like the way that the dopamine, hit feels like.
Yep.
Is that is a part of our nature, right? And it's being exploited to a degree. So we are given things to give us awareness of like, hey, cigarettes are really addictive. Like, by the way, hey, this app, some people get really hooked on it. Not for everybody, but like, what value does that add to the picture or like to our discussion? I don't know, but it is like a thing that like I'm curious, like what is gonna happen, right?
Also, forward. But to add to play devil's advocate with that though, like, isn't it also the individual's choice to choose to be addicted?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I don't know.
I mean, they put those labels on cigarettes, and I still bought a pack of cigarettes at one point in my life, right? Like,
yeah,
they rock in certain contexts, man. Like,
yeah. I think the important thing is just education on the topics involving addiction, like with nicotine. If we're talking about cigarettes or even just the addictive nature of social media, right? I think just education on the negative effects would be beneficial. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I think education is like the baseline of everything. Like
100%.
It's like a really intelligent society is gonna just be better off.
Yeah.
So yeah, education I think is like super critical, and that's another thing. Like I think the velocity of information is good for that reason too. But it's like quality of education now is worth considering, and yeah, but it's cool.
Someone in chat said, I find it creepy when I hear things like this game company hired a psychologist to make this game super addicting. You know what game company that is? I know which one it is.
I have a hunch. I would guess Blizzard.
100% Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yep. It was with Overwatch. They fucking did that shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to lean, as somebody that makes games, like, I don't want to lean into tricks, right? I just want to make the game and get the hell out of the way. And I don't also, as a person that makes something, I don't want to sit and work on the same thing for 10 years. Like, I don't want it to be in it's sometimes okay for things to fade away and to be remembered fondly. And I think that, like, I don't see that changing in my mind anytime soon. Like I don't see a value in screwing people out of their time. So
yeah,
I
remember that came out when Overwatch. It was their loot crate system. They hired and I'm willing to be proven wrong here, and I could be totally off base. But if I remember correctly, it was they hired a psychologist to try and make Overwatch more addictive. I believe it was either Overwatch or World of Warcraft. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but I remember reading about it on several articles and just being like, "Well, time to go back into Legion." Yeah.
We want to escape, right? Like that is one of the reasons why we play games and read and watch shows, is to like get a little bit of an escape. And so
escapism, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, and then you have like the physiological aspect to like the way it makes you feel. Like I love the feeling of like getting through a gnarly boss, man. Like the relief that gives me, or like tearing through doing some blind reads in Kaizo feels really, really good. Like there's nothing really that quite compares. And Kaizo in particular, I could talk about Kaizo forever, but
we've still got. You said you got a hard cutoff at 3:30.
Yeah.
What got you into Mario? Well, like, how'd you find Twitch? Like, yeah, let's, dude. We've been talking so much about so much bullshit. What got you to Twitch?
What got me to Twitch was I saw Invictus at GDQ, and I had been on Twitch. My account is like from 2014 or something. I had been on and off. I had an account from Justin TV, and I never really used it because I was just like, I don't really want to watch other people playing games. I really didn't get it. Like, I didn't understand like the social element that is like so important. And I think I started watching like Dode, and I started watching Grand Pooh Bear and Barb, and like all the and you. I remember seeing you at GDQ, and that's how I found out about you. And then I mean, that was my main exposure to it. And then I really just started following along with the level design in Kaizo because I was just so interested in how something with such a tight option state space, like in any given moment, like you have to really, I thought it was really interesting how they could take a game that has really wide open options, like you have spatially open options, you have items that you can grab, how they could compact it down into like something so tight. And I thought that was like, it would change the game entirely, right?
100%. Yeah.
So I thought that was like fascinating, and I just loved seeing the way it flowed. It was like very, very satisfying to watch, and it was also very satisfying to see how people like figured it out too.
Yeah.
So, and then Noitza came out, and I really came to Twitch when Noitza came out because I wanted to see that game. I wanted to see what people were doing, and that was a cool experience because back then, like when it first came, I bought it like the day it came out, and I had been playing it since then. And back then, like Steve like would show up in the first temple like basically every time. Like you couldn't really not anger the gods. So like people were just trying to, it was hard, and it was fun because people were like discovering the wand crafting, and like when chainsaw wrapping was figured out, people were like, oh my gosh, this like changes how we build stuff. And then from there it just spiraled out to like the meta that's like the stuff that's going on now, and even now it's still changing. I don't know, it was really cool to like follow along and to keep learning, and it was like learning in real time, and then sharing that with people was so cool. And that was a pretty awesome time.
Sounds like a speedrunning scene.
What was that?
Sounds like a speedrunning scene.
Yeah,
of everyone like discovering new things, then sharing with other people.
Yeah,
at least a healthy speedrunning scene anyway.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But what about you? What brought you to Twitch?
Me and my now brother-in-law used to make fucked up Mario Maker levels for each other.
Okay.
And we would send them back and forth. And then I started getting like recommended like Carl Sagan and Ryukar and Pooh. And then I came to Twitch, started watching Pooh. And all I did was watch Grand Pooh Bear for a long time. And then I found Barb. And this is before Barb was even partnered. He had like 50 people watching him play Smash Brothers. That was,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then I remember watching Grand Pooh Bear play Breath of the Wild while I was doing my first playthrough of Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
And that was like so cool to me. Like I was experiencing it while watching someone else do it, and like have like the same shock and awe kind of, you know, moments because I loved the game so much. And then it was like, all right, you know, streaming seems pretty cool. And then one day, Caitlin, she came home with a Elgato game capture and a webcam, and she's like, you've been watching streams so much, just start doing it yourself. And she just brought it, and she just like, all right, fine. And then my first stream was taking a chicken again, and didn't work. The chicken despawned. I spent legitimately 5 hours trying to bring a chicken again, and trying to get through all the guardians, trying to fly away, man. Not get fucked. And then I finally did, and nothing happened.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like the stuff that you can really kind of stretch out of that game is so cool. That game was really fun to watch the meta evolve. Like,
oh my,
all of the stasis tricks and like,
dude, the evolution. Like when I used to speedrun the game and I was in contention for world record, the world record was 42 minutes. It was 42 minutes and like I want to say 21 seconds or something. It was something like that. And right now the world record's 23 minutes. They shaved 20 minutes off. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane. I learned a trick where if you go into the final fight, and you don't do any of the divine beasts, you have to fight all 4 blights before you fight Ganon. You have to fight them all in a row. And there's a setup where you shoot an arrow as you walk into the scene, and the arrow gets stuck midair where Wind Blight spawns. And this arrow kills him before you even get control of Link.
Oh, wow.
And it's like
Wow.
the amount of discovery that they've had in that game is insane.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of
Yeah.
like sandbox stuff like that, is that it's just so emergent. Like just
Mm-hmm.
like
100%.
they just like let it go and he knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's definitely like it blows my mind that Nintendo took such a different take on that, man. Like, because Zelda has always been like a traditionally like locked down experience.
Dude,
And
have you
then they
played? Oh god, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you played Skyward Sword?
Not in a really long time.
I cannot believe, like, I'm playing through Skyward Sword right now. I cannot believe they went from Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild. It's like a miracle Breath of the Wild exists. It is a fucking miracle, because I think Skyward Sword so far is kind of like just this pile of shit.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know. Oh man, I don't know.
I was at E3 the year that they announced Skyward Sword, and I remember being like, "Cool, a new Zelda." And then, like in the demo booth, like they had you doing like the bowling thing, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Like they're bowling the bombs, right? And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
all right." What do you want from me, man? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to move my hands. Like, can I just? Yeah.
Dude, do they not know anything about gamers? People want to sit down and not fucking move.
Yeah.
No. If you want to fucking move, you go play like Beat Saber. That's what people
Yeah.
go play. Or DDR. They don't fucking. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That was cool, man. And yeah, Twitch is one of those like rare forms where like it is such a unique platform because of like the way the chat interacts with the, I guess not really a thing that exists really anywhere else. Like you have a stage and then people show up and experience you doing, like you have to go to a music venue or put a box outside, stand up and hope that people want to hear what like stuff you're babbling about. And so like it's a really unique setting in that way. And I fell in love with it for that reason, and actually have made like quite a few friends. I went on a road trip with Rudy, and we drove up to see White Moth, and like crashed up there one night, and that was like really really fun. Like had a great time, and
that's cool.
So it's like I've made like buddies, like real pals, you know. And
yeah,
it's cool. It's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
White Moth gives a heart.
yeah. What a legend, dude.
Yeah.
So it's cool, man. Yeah.
Well,
so what I got one question. I know that you were working on a ROM hack. So what happened?
Every time I played it, I hated it more.
That's just making stuff, though.
I realize that. But hacking wasn't like this. ROM hacking for Super Mario World wasn't like a passion. It was like I want to see what I could do.
Okay.
Right? Like I wanted to see what I could do. And I was like, I think I've got a couple cool ideas for a niche crowd. And the more I developed and the more I made levels, the more I played more ROM hacks, it just felt like my contribution, I didn't want to contribute to this endless sea of repetitive bullshit. Because I feel that Super Mario World Kaizo specifically has reached a boiling point where the creativity is moot. It is very, 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 very rare to find something that is creative enough to strike awe on you. And that is obviously as someone who's played hundreds of hacks now, right? I'm someone who's played hundreds. And I just didn't want to contribute. I didn't want to contribute to that because I felt everything felt the same. Everything felt the same.
Yeah.
And I realized, speaking to you as a game developer who hundreds of games are getting released, thousands are getting released every year, and obviously that's probably not something that ever crosses your mind, or maybe it does.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
I'll say maybe it does.
Yeah. And even that moment where I'm like, there's that pull to like do something really innovative, and then there's like the pull to do what has been done but really well. And I think that's back down to constraints again. Like you know the engine really well front and back, right? It's not like you would just be throwing something together. Like I think the value that you would have is like there's perspective, and then making something that like uses what's there
Mm.
really well. And
Mm.
that is where like I'm not necessarily worried about like doing something necessarily new, because it doesn't need to be new to be good.
Mm.
And
100%.
and so I try to keep that in the back of my mind. And I've been working on something on and off, and I think you actually played some of what I was working on.
I did. Yep.
And it's like I want to keep it vanilla. Like I think that's great. That's the constraint. I think we were talking about that earlier, is design constraints. And
100%.
so yeah, I feel what you're saying though. Like you don't want to necessarily contribute back out to a sea of noise. And I have that thought line of thinking too. It's like I don't want to put something back out there that's just devoid of, it's like the same shit, you know. Like, that drives me insane. But I also don't want to, I know, so there's a concept of innovation tokens, and you only get like a few, especially like when you're making something really big. So you can't, the innovation token is like, I want to do this feature that nobody's really seen before, or like I want to have this method of input that's really novel. And no matter what, that is like the X factor. And you that innovation token is on that thing, it doesn't move, and that's what you put your time and your resources into, and that's what you really. So one of those tokens for Kana that I like that comes to mind is the rock cloud. Like having that on the battlefield was really hard to nail. And we at a few times I remember it was just like the discussion was just like, this isn't working, dude. Like this isn't working. And like we wanted that because it did make the combat feel a little different. And then Astral Chain did it. And Astral Chain did such a good job with it. Like I don't know if you played it, but
I've never played Astral Chain.
So good, dude. It's super cool. Like I think you'd dig it. And they did a great job of like having the buddy on the battlefield. So that we were like kind of relieved, because it gave us like, it just be like seeing something and being like, somebody else did this and it works really well. It can work, you know. So yeah, jumping on the innovation stuff, it's like using a custom ASM. It's like, is this really like, the ASM's cool, but like I've got to do something neat with it now. Like I've got to make a nice level with it. So it's like we can have the thing on the field, but now we have to make some good combat encounters with it. Like, so.
And you know, it's funny because no one has asked me about like my Kaizo levels that I created or anything, and so I'm like sitting here like thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, I mean, why wouldn't I just want to contribute to the noise? Like, who cares? You know, just put it out there anyway. And I was thinking about it. I think I'm a very I don't know if selfish is the right word. When I was 23, I decided to start drawing. I wanted to draw. I was 23 and I played Final Fantasy X, and I just had like this gut feeling. I wanted to draw Bahamut, you know, the big blue dragon. I went into fucking Michael's. I bought fucking Prismacolor colored pencils. I got paper. I came home and I drew them. That's what I did, and turned out I was pretty good at it. And
there you go.
I realized by thinking of that thought process, I was creating art for myself and only for myself. Yeah. I did it because I enjoyed doing it. And I think when it came to making Kaizo, I don't want anyone to experience it. Maybe that's what it is.
You know? That's kind of like what Ken Levine had expressed too. Like he made BioShock and he made like Infinite, and then he was just like, I just want to make games and I don't necessarily want to release them because I like making them, but I don't really want them to be for like other people. And like I understand that, because like by putting something out there, like unless you like completely disconnect, like you are giving kind of like a part of yourself out there too.
Sure.
And one thing that I learned is that like as soon as the idea is out of my mouth, or like I've shown it to somebody, it's no longer mine. It's not. It's like now in the collective like consciousness, right? So by like kind of breaking off, like I can avoid like I can just kind of keep it pure, right? So like with that said, I understand that sentiment of like just wanting to make stuff that you enjoy, and when that's a really good place to be, man. Like if you're making stuff that you enjoy, then somebody else is probably gonna like it too. So yeah. Like anybody that makes Kaizo ROM hacks, you're making games too. Like that, I think that doesn't get said enough, because that's so much work, man. Like that is, you're taking a thing and like you're polishing it, you're putting the sound in, you're putting, you know, switch. Sometimes, you know, the custom ASM is like, it's an engineering marvel that we're even to that point where we can like tear apart old SNES games and like reconstruct them. Amazing. Like the stuff that my Kyra Shack does like blows my mind sometimes. He showed me his like QLDC thing, and he had this like dude like ducking and like spitting out fireball. I was like, dude, that's so sick. Like, how did you do that? Why did you do that? Leave me alone. Stop talking to me. Like it's wild, man. Like but all of that stuff is like, yeah, it's making games. And like Raspberry,
Mhm.
he dropped a hack that was really cool. And I remember talking to them, like hearing them, they're like, it's finally done. And it's like it is a
Mhm.
labor. And Pixel Nine Tails also is going through it. It's like it's really laborious, man. Like, and it's like I
Yeah.
get to sit with buddies that are also making Kaizo stuff, and it's like, yeah, we're all the same, you know, we're all making games, we're all making content, like, and it's like we're all in that direction, you know, and it's
Mhm.
nice to have compete like pals, you know, like arm in arm, you know, as we
Yeah.
march into the future.
Yeah. I don't know. Man, it's been a long time since I've worked on any Kaizo stuff. I don't think I have any interest in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've pretty much distanced myself from like that whole community pretty hard. I mean, I've only been playing Kaizo because I've actually I've actually been missing playing Mario. I'll say it out loud. I've missed playing Mario. It's been 6 months, all right?
Yeah.
I fucking had a 6 month detox and I miss playing it. I miss playing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, especially some of the cool shit I've played. Like the hack I'm playing right now, Fourth Chamber. The
Oh,
entire thing is a love letter to Sekiro. It
yeah.
is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's
That
so
what an
fucking cool.
awesome game, dude. Like I saw the
Yeah.
intro to that and I was like, dude, it has like scrolling text. Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, what a creative thing to like really skin it to have like that, dude.
Yep.
Mind blowing, dude.
Yep.
Like finding that little dojo and like just that first room is like
Yeah.
so cool. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing the little statue.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like super cool, man. Like just vision and then accomplishing the vision and pushing on it and
Uh,
yeah. Stuff is really motivating, honestly, for me to see that stuff. I'm like, dude, like
yeah.
awesome. So cool.
I don't think I'll ever create. Not for Lunar Magic. I'm more my creative endeavors are now being utilized for my stream. That's what I want to use it for.
Yeah, I think
My creative
this is a creative
space.
output here, and I
Yeah,
dig this. I think this is a really awesome.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you gonna play Hacker's Dreams or what?
no. Oh. No.
That
No.
looks
I would rather go marry Courtney Love, dude. I'm good.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
I'm
gnarly.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. If you want to go watch Third Wall play it, he has to put major photosensitivity warning because the final boss is literally just this very creative thing.
All right. All right. Yeah,
And
I
that's
saw
just
it, and I the logic was kind of cool. I heard when he explained how it worked. I was like, oh, okay. There's there's some sense to it. And I was like, okay.
maybe
Very
maybe it's just like too in the future, you know, like he's
yeah.
like 20 years ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Bloodlust, the guy who made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a smart dude there. Like, yeah. Bloodlust is a clever dude.
Yeah. Oh. Who's sitting here? Like, I have a piece of art that I have that it was like the last drawing I ever did. I haven't drawn since. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah.
Where is it? Let's see it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Holy shit,
Yeah.
dude. Wow.
Yeah. This is the
That's
last drawing I've done.
that's
Yeah.
insane, man. That's really cool.
I think I like when you look it up close, I'm sure it doesn't look as good, but I'm pretty proud of this one. Yeah.
Dude, everything when you look at it up close doesn't
Oh
look
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Like,
I know.
really
It's
good,
you know,
man.
it's like you're your own worst critic kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks great though.
Oh yeah, thank
It's really
you.
cool, man.
Yeah, and I'm like looking at that. And I'm like, yeah, I did that because I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't remember who it was. It's like, why did he climb that mountain? He's like, because it was there. Like,
Yep.
yeah. Why did I do something? Because it was there.
Did you know when someone climbs Mount Everest, they see the frozen corpses of the people who failed along the way?
Yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. Yeah. Talk about being on the limits of potential, right? Like being at the very physical limit, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And nobody will go get those bodies, man. Like that's wild.
Yeah. Hmm. You know.
Well, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's like I've been getting out more, and I have really enjoyed like getting out and being. I hate to say this, but like away from machines a little bit, like away from computer,
Disconnecting.
a little disconnected, man. Like I hate to say this, but it's It's kind of smooth, man.
Dude,
Like,
the world is pretty cool when you like get away from the computer and the
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
raining outside right now, and I'm like,
I've been hearing it pouring down rain this entire time. I'm like, holy shit! I forgot you're not far from me.
yeah.
Oh.
I'm in. I actually like I'm across the street from the ocean, so it's so cool to like get out, poke out, and be like, there it is, man. Like,
Huh?
all like the infinite, like unknown. That like, yeah, it's just the world is so full of potential, like all the time. So, but yeah, I've been actually tonight. I'm going off on an adventure for the weekend, so it's like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'm pretty
I've just
excited.
been taking care of my son.
Yeah, yeah,
That's forced me to disconnect.
dude,
It's
yeah.
forced me to disconnect.
Yeah, I took like a month off, like no phone, no nothing, and the first like few days, and I mean no phone, no nothing. I couldn't get it if I wanted to, and the first few days were rough, and then I got used to it, and
Yeah.
like I started reading again, and I started like writing and drawing, and I was like, oh, this is what happens when like the information stops flowing in. Like I become a person again.
I printed this word on a piece of paper.
Yo. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You should get Leprechaun printed out and frame it. And that could be, dude, that could be like your totem of just like, this is when people take things too seriously, maybe, you know, you're looking at something and getting frustrated, you're like, man, this doesn't matter. We print stuff on a piece of paper, dude.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, keeping things in perspective and staying like right sized is pretty important to me. And that's like having little reminders to do that is really good. I've gotten into you know, I know that people like kind of made blow this up as foo-fooey, but I've gotten into yoga, and like,
Oh no,
it's like it's one of those things that like it slows me down, and like I get to like use all of my body and like kind of connect with my body, and then like I'm now like after that, like I'm like, okay, like in the grand, I'm a thing piloting this thing, and like this thing exists in a like a broader and greater world. And so like what am I gonna do with this thing today? And like it's I like that. I don't know. Being a little more connected to life and the world is like a blessing.
I'm gonna have to bring you on to a whole other podcast because we could sit here and talk about that all fucking day.
Yeah. I had a pretty big transformation last year. And it was funny because like I had built up this like persona of like Nathrakus being like this wacky internet guy, and the big part of that kind of like went away in the last year, and it was like I'm gonna just be Tyler, you know, I'm just gonna be Tyler and like be funny when it's right, and then not really worry about who, you know, what people think of me externally. And so yeah, and that was a really important change for me, you know, for me, like that was for me, and so that was pretty cool, and I feel a lot more like grounded and centered a little bit. So not to totally, I mean, definitely tangential, but it all connects into like the process of doing and how output works, and the line of thinking when it comes to like how I connect with people, and even how I approach something like this. It's like I've been thinking about this meeting, this interview in particular, like just talking to you, and like what I was gonna be and who I was gonna, you know, and like maybe overthinking it. Like
I mean, I was expecting you to be more shitpostery, but maybe that's part of like we haven't had like a serious conversation in a while, you know, so maybe that's part of the transformation you're discussing is.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, maybe, yeah. I think the shit posting is still in there, and I do stuff that cracks me up still. But like, somebody told me pretty blatantly, it's like who's your audience? Because right now it seems like it's you. And I was like, oh, that one stung. I was like, yeah. I think the audience is me, and like I'm trying to like make myself laugh, and like, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't be just like performing for myself. And that was a good lesson to kind of digest and like take in. And I yeah I don't know, life stuff, right? Like,
yeah, hey, dude, I love discussing like consciousness and philosophy and your hierarchy of values that you have as a person. I think those are also interesting to have discussions on.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know, this was great. You're the
This is
first
a
one.
blast, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having this
We
live,
went
dude,
we
setting
went for
this up.
2 hours and 15 minutes, no problem.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I've got to, you know, I've enjoyed doing this, but I got a game to make, man. Like,
do you want to give people like how they can find you if they want to contact you, or
yeah, my phone number is 949.
no, I mean, like, I don't know, any
Yeah.
social media that you want to plug or anything, you're more than welcome to, you know, right now.
Yeah, I'm at Nathrakus on Twitter. That is generally like I'm reposting like game dev stuff that I think is interesting. You can always DM me on Discord if you ever see me and you want to talk. Like I will respond to everybody. I'm also just like sometimes like but yeah, I don't know. Just hit me up, DMs or wherever. And then on Twitch, I used to stream on occasion, but I've kind of just fallen out of love for doing it. Like the whole, I don't know. I just haven't been playing as many games, to be honest. So, but yeah, that's me, man. Like,
Are you going to GDC?
I am not going to GDC. Who asked that?
Invictus.
Okay, no, I'm not going to GDC.
I would say no to if I was talking to him.
Yeah, GDC is a big one. But no, I'm not going this year. I used to go to GDC. It's pretty fun. But I don't know. I like to hang out now. Be local.
Yeah,
so,
I'm for sure, dude.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. I definitely want to have you on in the future if you're down again. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
Take care.
I'm going to be doing more of these. I've got Dr. Cox lined up. I've got a drummer to some metal bands, multiple metal bands. And I've got a couple other people that I'm going to keep secret.